all learners are definitely not the same and they process information in different ways. This is commonly referred to as learning styles. It is often broken down by the ways that humans process information. This includes getting information through auditory, visual, and kinesthetic means. As a trainer, you need to be aware of your own learning style as well as the style of your trainees. Learners can be diverse, and many learn through a combination of these types, not just one. Understanding the activities that appeal to each style will help you deliver training sessions that address all learning styles. Auditory learners are listeners, writers, storytellers, and teachers. They learn through sound and often have highly developed listening skills. They are good at speaking and presenting. They think about new concepts in words rather than imagery. They can usually recall conversations, jokes, and stories pretty quickly. A lot of times they think out loud by talking to themselves when reading, problem solving, or making decisions. They can understand emotional meaning and intent based on tonality and voice. They also might enjoy arguing their point of view. One of the best structures for training auditory learners is to tell them what they're going to learn, teach them, and then tell them what they've learned. The more you repeat the information, the easier it'll be for them to remember. Here are some additional tips for effectively training auditory learners. Start new material with a brief explanation of what you're about to cover and conclude with a summary of what you did cover. Question the learners to draw as much information from them as possible, and then fill in the gaps with your own expertise. Include auditory activities such as brainstorming, buzz groups, or even games like Jeopardy! And be sure to leave plenty of time to debrief activities. This allows them to make connections of what they learn and how it applies to them specifically. Also, make sure that you have the learners verbalize any questions and then integrate their questions into your answer. Again, the repetitive nature of this will help them better retain the content. Visual learners are the readers, writers, and artists, and they usually have the following traits. They learn best through sight. They often have a good sense of direction. They visualize new content through patterns in their mind. They're often talented at constructing, fixing, and designing practical things. Many visual learners need to create pictures in their mind to better retain information. They can better interpret the meaning of ideas by observing a person's body language, facial expressions, and gestures. Their learning is improved when utilizing graphs, charts, pictures, videos, and movies. It may be difficult for visual learners to follow verbal instructions or directions. They also may have trouble following along without a presentation or workbook. Visual learners need something to stimulate their sight, or they can quickly become disengaged. One of the keys to getting through to visual learners is to use visual content such as handouts, illustrations, and other visual aids. Here are some tips to help you better engage visual learners. Include outlines, agendas, graphs, charts, and other visual aids for reading and note-taking. Leave white space in handouts for note-taking, and have them draw pictures if applicable to your training topic. Invite questions to help them stay alert during lectures or other listening activities. Post flip charts to show what has been presented and what will come next. Supplement textual information with illustrations as often as possible. You can even have the learners try to envision the topic or have them act out the subject matter if it makes sense and contributes to the lesson. Kinesthetic learners are doers, movers, touchers, and interactors. They usually learn through moving, doing, and touching, and often express themselves through movement. They also remember and process information best through practical interactions. This means they usually find practical and on-the-job training more engaging than instructor-led classroom training. Kinesthetic learners can find it hard to sit still for long periods of time. This means that they can get bored or fidgety during lectures and periods of inactivity. Since they learn by doing, these learners tend to lose concentration if there's little or no external movement. So don't get discouraged if a kinesthetic learner doesn't seem as interested as others in your class. One of the keys to keeping kinesthetic learners engaged in your training sessions is to keep them moving. Of course, this isn't as easy as it may sound, and the extent that you can do this is dependent on the subject matter that you're teaching. For example, if you're teaching a classroom-based course on hazardous products, it may be more difficult to retain a kinesthetic learner's attention than, say, if you're conducting a forklift operator practical evaluation. Remember, it's likely that you'll have all three learner types in your training sessions, especially if you hold larger sessions with a lot of people. Make sure you consider this and design your training sessions and workshops so they include components that'll cover all learning styles.